Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to the Pain Clinic for July 5th. And before we get too far, make sure you got all your fingers, okay? You got all your fingers. July 5th, you survived July 4th. You didn't leave any out in the field or anything or any blown up someplace. So if you got all your fingers, then you're way ahead of the game. Happy July 5th. July 5th here in the US of A. We're in Rochester, New York. There's a couple holidays. National Apple Turnover Day. Sounds like a great holiday to me. International Bikini Day. I'll be the judge of that. International Cherry Pit Spitting Day and Workaholics Day, which seems quite odd that it's the day after national holiday that it's Workaholics Day, but that's the holiday. You have a few birthdays today. Former WWE superstar Hillbilly Jim, 73 today. Jerry Sags is 61 from, the Nasty Boys. And Adam Cole is 36 today. Happy birthday, Adam Cole. Interested in roller derby, want to be an official skater, officiate Rock City Roller Derby needs you. Contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment@gmail.com and join Rock City Roller Derby. And by the way, happy birthday, Rennie. I know it's coming up. But also, if you're into the men's team, Flower City Fear, FLOUR, flowercityfear.com. That's the men's team here in town. And we've got a lot of busyness coming up. A couple weeks, we've got another women's game at the Dome. So we'll check that out. But there's a few things we want to talk about today. I am your humble host, the Cash Man. Looks like I'm with the artiste, Rob Sanderson, who joins me as well, which is nice to see the artiste. We missed you last week, buddy. How's everything going? And still muted. So I will talk until I hear your voice then. Hey, I've got some things we want to talk about this week. Night of Champions, the results from last week, the very early show last Saturday. We have the All-In build-up. We had the 300th show of Dynamite and the 100th show of Collision this past week, or actually 100th is today. Those both happening in the same week. Of course, All In is a week from today. And we have WWE Evolution 2 coming up. So we'll talk about some of those things and everything, but we'll jump into it. I lost Rob. He must be coming back here in a minute. We will eventually have Rob Sanderson with myself as well. And we want to thank you guys in the chat room. Not a lot of drastic things has happened this past week, but I will start off with talking a little bit about excuse me, Night of Champions, which was last week. I don't, it's hard for me to judge if it was good or not. It was just a regular show. Maybe, we had a debut during it that happened in the last match of the night. A new Samoan, or wasn't the last match. It was the second to last match. So, actually the third to last match where we had Solo Sequoia beating Jacob Fatu. And we had a debut in the ring of another Samoan. One Samoan gets hurt, another one replaces him. This time, this dude's like 7 feet tall. His name is Tala Tonga. He was formerly known as Hikuleo, I believe, and he was introduced as Solo's growing faction at the Night of Champions. He came out as like 7 feet tall, a monster. Also, Tonga Loa came back as well at Night of Champions. And now Solo Sequoia obviously is the champ of, is taking Jacob Fatu's belt from him at the pay-per-view. But big family tree, man. Yeah, it takes me back to The Rock showing the family tree, building up WrestleMania, not last year's, but the years before. And there's still a lot more Samoans who haven't debuted yet either. So, but that was it was an interesting pay-per-view. I mean, obviously Cena came out ahead on Punk after Seth Rollins came out. Everyone is remarking. I mean, that match was a pretty good match. I'll say that I enjoyed it. It kind of end. At one point, it was going to end with a referee getting bounced, and then little Nate Charles Robinson comes ripping down into the ring and gets destroyed by John Cena. So that of course Seth Rollins curb stomping Punk, and then that's how Punk lost. And that Seems like a repetitive story, but it was a good match up until that point, and much better than the one before, which was Jade Cargill versus Asuka, where there was a big botch right before the end, and Jade ended up winning. I think they were like, "Hey, just pin her, get it out." Same with the street fight with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. Not a strong night for women's wrestling, which I mean, there's some great moments, but there was definitely some issues that were going on. I don't know. Cody Rhodes beating Randy Orton. Thought that was an interesting match to start the show with. It was a pretty fast show. It really didn't take that long. And then like I said, we had Sami Zayn defeating Karrion Kross. Not a big deal that way either. A lot of rumors going around about Kross. Are they going to keep him and they're going to let him go? His contract's up towards the end of the year. His wife's contract's coming up sooner. We'll see. Hey, Mad Dog, what's up, buddy? Got Mad Dog in the chat room there. We're here. Yeah, you got all your fingers, Mad Dog? I'm just checking with everybody in the chat room. Make sure that being yesterday was, illegal explosives nights and everything. Not that you would have them. I mean, I'm not saying anything, but I was just kidding around. But we're just going through the Night of Champions, which was actually the afternoon of champions, and last weekend, trying to, find the good points in the match. I think I've got Rob back here now. Let's see. There we are. And it's probably, I mean, guess your computer probably is updating, Rob. I'm not sure. I mean, it's all sorts of weirdness, but Rob will be with us in a second. Like I said, hey, Gary, what's up? Eric Everlast, what's up? He's in the chat room as well. Yeah, a lot of people are off today. Oh yeah, you, Bob, Mad Dog, you hide on the July 4th. I get that, man. There you are. I hear you, Rob.
I'm here. My computer's physically here. I'm on my phone right now. Good morning.
Good morning. It sounds pretty good, actually, and
Hmm.
and plus you got the great picture of the Quebecers with you on there. So it's, having just had, the July Independence Day recently, as well as, whatever was, we had going yesterday. Welcome. I missed you last week, bro.
Well, we had Canada Day
Yeah.
on Tuesday, and then we had
Yeah.
Canada Day Part 2 yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. As long as you got all your fingers, you're good. So, yeah. So I missed. Yeah, I said we missed you last week on that build up for the what was going on in WWE. I did briefly talk about. I did briefly talk about it at the beginning of the show. Did you get to see any of Night of Champions, or was it the afternoon of Champions, or maybe the replay of Champions?
no, I refuse to watch that. I'm not watching any
That's
Saudi
right.
shows.
That's right. I forgot. It's a
We got
show.
to get another co-host on here that watches WWE because I will never watch another Saudi show. Can't wait to watch the Royal Rumble in 2 years.
Oh no,
So,
yeah, yeah. You gotta wait till then. Yeah, that's those. They, yeah. We spent a lot of time last week kind of pointing out the hypocrisy of CM Punk, but it wasn't like anybody else was doing that at the same time. Actually, everybody was doing that at the same time. So there was a lot of hypocrisy going on. Yeah,
he deserves every bit of it. He's the biggest fraud out there.
yeah. So, well, it doesn't seem like it's helping him win at all. That's for sure. So, he's being a company man. Last week we talked about how he apologized in front of the crowd for a tweet that we had brought up a few weeks ago, as well as everybody else in the world. So, yeah, let's talk about the build up to All In then, okay? Because it's like, I just want to say in conclusion, Night of Champions was like a blown out house show where we got to debut a new Samoan who actually was on last night as well on SmackDown. But I mean, I can't think of anything else that really stood out.
So you're saying that there weren't matches where every title was on the line on a Night of Champions?
There was not. You're correct.
Hmm.
There was actually. I'm sorry. It wasn't a Night of Champions. It was King and Queen of the Ring. So I got to give it the correct name. But
No, that was Night of Champions was the actual name of the
was it?
event. They should have just called it the other one, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I was wondering. It was like, because
which they've done that before, so I don't know why they wouldn't do that now. But
it seems logical, though. I mean, if you're out in the middle of the desert, having maybe honoring kings and queens, but I will say that both the King of the Cody Rhodes winning King of Ring was awesome. Jade Cargill winning Queen of the Ring after a huge botch. I think someone just said go home with it at one point when they were both laying on the mat. So then it was like a simple roll up pin at that point. So it was It was not a 5 star. I'll say that match. But I'm glad they're gone, and now we just have to worry about what they're doing in the next 12 days or the next 10 days while AEW is trying to put on their biggest pay-per-view, which is interesting. All In being 1 week from today, Tony Khan came out and said that this will be the biggest money maker ever in the United States for AEW for the amount of tickets they've sold so far. So that's a good sign, I think. What do you think? I mean, you take a peek at that stuff every once in a while, right? See how many tickets have been sold and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they just got past the 20,000 sold mark, and I think the realistic goal is to hit 25,000 by Saturday. I don't know. I mean, I continue to like the same thing I'll say about like the WWE shows. Like, I personally, like, I pay attention to that business stuff, but that's not how I judge these companies. I don't care about the gate money. I would rather tickets were half that price and there were double the people in the stadium. That being said, I mean, the ticket prices are very reasonable for that show and certainly compared to the other company. But um, I don't know. I think the build up for the show has been getting much better. Um,
What'd
it's
you what'd you think about Hangman doing his finisher on what's her name?
Marina.
Yeah, Marina Shafir. That
It's
besides the fact that it looked like she didn't sell it correctly 100%. But I mean that was I I don't draw a line at man on women violence because it's not really violence. They're working together, and no one's really, I don't think, getting destroyed or anything. But that was a kind of a shocker, I thought. I mean, I wonder why she was lingering around the ring at the end of that promo in the beginning of the show on Dynamite this past week, and then it's like, wow, that was so. What'd you think?
I see. I personally, it's tricky because like mainstream wrestling fans who only watch the top one or two products are not used to seeing what even TNA has done, what happens on the indies, what happens most places. Like almost all of the wrestling shows that I watch or commentate or go to or any of that like has intergender matches. And we're even at the point now where we don't even really call them that. They're just matches and it happens to be a man against a woman or whatever. And um, I just watched multiple ones yesterday. I think I it's going to be tricky to introduce that kind of stuff more. Obviously, it got a huge reaction because nobody would expect that to happen on that product, but I think it's kind of overdue at this point. And I mean, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for like the women wrestlers that I'm friends with and talk with and stuff, like they want to wrestle the guys. They want to be in the same conversation and stuff, but it doesn't. Marina can beat the crap out of probably 85% of that roster, if we're being honest. So like,
Yeah, she is an MMA, yeah, has MMA background, a legit MMA background. So
yeah. So I don't have an issue with it. I just think they have to be careful as to how they introduce it if they're going to do anything more than just that one spot.
I noticed that as like that was after that happened, we immediately went to a Mina Shirakawa match, pretty much. Maybe they should have separated it out a little bit because well, it was a little bit shocking. I'll just say that, but I think it really made a point too about this it gets people hyped for this pay-per-view coming up next week, and I think and what the possibilities are of and it's even interesting as she had the briefcase still in the ring when that happened, and it's like the thing they've been hiding the belt in for what now 8 months now, maybe more, I don't know, since Daniel Bryan lost it, or Bryan Danielson, so it was.
Would have been October, so getting close to, I mean, 8.5 months at least.
Yeah, really haven't seen it, so but I thought it was the first time we've really seen anything like that, I think, in AEW. And you're right, it's about time. I mean, listen, you're right. TNA did it. TNA had a women champ, man.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not anything out of realm of
Well, and we've
possibility.
heard the next AEW champion referred to the belt as the Men's World Championship, um, which I think we talked about before. I don't have any issue with that either, because I do think for right now, I mean, like we're in a situation where the divisions should obviously still be separate at this point. I like when TNA did that with Tessa, Tessa had held primary belts in other companies and stuff, but I felt like it was one of those situations where like how do you like where are you going to go from after this title reign? Like does she go back to the women's division? Is she only in this division? Like are we like what does that say about the knockouts title? Is
Yeah.
that a secondary title? There's no perfect answer is really the way it goes. So I think that Marina, she's been doing pretty good work, I think, and I it's such a weird time frame where like she's not getting any matches in. But I don't think Tony Khan's gonna bring it to like a full intergender match product. I don't see him doing that anytime soon. But I think little bits and pieces of it are fine. Especially with Marina getting involved first. Everybody knows and acknowledges that this is a show and stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't think it has a lot different of a tone in this like we're open to talking about what wrestling really is and uh you know all these different things like it's a lot different than the Attitude Era and like having like Jeff Jarrett in China and a good housekeeping match and stuff like that's completely different in every aspect. So um I thought it was fine. I think Hangman it really it was something where it wasn't just done just to do it. Like it I think it really added to the story and that buildup has been growing quite a bit. When Hangman first won the Owen, I was kind of like, I mean, okay. But he's done a phenomenal job with all of his promos and everything since then that I think most everybody watching that product is oh God, I was gonna say he's all in on him right now, but they are. I mean,
I think, and I just saw an interview with him where he said that how the fans have brought him back to where he is. He gives a lot of credit to the fandom and, chanting his name and things like that. And, it's a good thing. I think it's going to be a good, happy moment a week from today, when we finally get to it,
yeah,
uh, which is good. I mean, even if it's predictable, it's like, I think it's not a bad thing, I mean, I like where some of the other storylines are going as well. There's I like we got to see the Ibushi match that finished up the Okada Ibushi match, which that was a pay-per-view in New Japan, like I said a couple of years ago. So that wasn't that long ago. It was a good show this past. I think they've got one more good. The go home Dynamite is Wednesday, and I don't know if they're going to have. Are they doing a Thursday this week of Collision? I can't remember. I don't know if they're going to have a
yeah,
Collision.
it's
Okay, is it Thursday?
I believe a live Collision Thursday. Um, it's weird because now we're at the point where after after Wednesday's show was live, and then Collision tonight that was also taped Wednesday in Ontario, California. Now we're at a point where we're only going to see AEW in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex and Chicago for the next month plus. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it. Like they've got a ton of shows in Dallas and then even more shows in Chicago. So get used to seeing some of the same venues and stuff. But yeah, it's Dynamite Wednesday, Collision Thursday, Ring of Honor Friday, all in Saturday. So
Yeah, and you mentioned that it's like I mean they're pretty used to it now. WWE had Raw and SmackDown this week from Pittsburgh, so they both those shows emanate, and as well as NXT, you know, all of them, they all, or was NXT from, I can't remember, to be honest with you, but I know that last night it's like, wow, you know, it's like, when often do they do, they come back from Saudi Arabia and do 2 shows in Pittsburgh and have to be stuck there the whole week, apparently, you know, but you know, I like it when they're doing the was it like 8 days in Chicago, I think, something like that for
We'll
the,
see how it goes. I have kind of mixed feelings on it. I think it's going to look really cool. You know, like being at the Aragon Ballroom. I think that setup is going to be awesome in Chicago. And hopefully it's something where they're packing it every single show and it's got that same kind of feel that those Arlington shows had last summer, but that's also like an excessive amount of time to spend at one city. So I don't know, and hopefully they've improved the air conditioning in that building a little bit too.
how many weeks in a row were we at Dailies, you know?
Yeah, I miss dailies in some way. Like that was such a cool look, in a lot of ways. But
You know, it is definitely a cool place, and they've changed the way it looked too since, like, when they obviously when we were in shutdown mode, it was definitely set up different than it was the last few times they've been there. So, oh, you're coming in again. I think maybe you're hooking up again here with your computer.
that sounds wrong. Yeah, I'm trying to, but
I'm
we'll
admitting
see.
you, so we'll see what happens. Might have 2 artistes and 1 cash in a minute here.
You'll have zero of that name.
I got one Cartman right over my shoulder. There he is, Cartman. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, so look at that. Ooh, I didn't see,
Oh,
nobody
that's
can
too
see.
much. I don't like that. That's too
Nobody can
much.
see that but me, or because I'm looking at the stream and we don't see any of that. So
That needs to leave.
yeah,
Nope, doesn't want to let me leave. Okay.
I can make you leave. Oops, no, darn it. I was gonna say we're fixing things up for everybody out there in the real world. Who I appreciate you guys in the chat room, man. I appreciate Mad Dog and freaking Eric Everlast. Where's our friend Super Beast? I haven't seen his pushing his t-shirts recently, though I know he's been working a lot more lately. So we always appreciate that. I hope you guys all had a safe 4th last night. I was out in Henrietta, the town of Henrietta, watching the fireworks. It was nice. You know, my mom lives, my 90-year-old mom, Cash mom, lives out there, and park down the street from the fireworks and watch them. So it was you know, they had a nice little festival thing going on there. Rob, you do anything for the 4th?
Oh, did that already happen?
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Oh, Canada Day Part 2. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you sound better now. Holy cow. Obviously not in the phone. So
Got the real microphone now, but the camera is still. Who knows
yeah,
what's going on with us?
maybe it'll show up in a minute or two. But yeah, I mean, did you get out to any, like, you see any explosions in the sky last night that were
No.
intended?
No, not yet. No. I mean, heard them, but no. I mean, saw the explosions of the Blue Jays winning in extra innings, and the Ticats winning last night and stuff. It was
That's
a good
right.
sports
That's right.
night to just watch and
Right.
relax.
Football. Canadian football is back.
It is. It is. It was a big win last night for the
Yeah.
not actually good Hamilton Tiger Cats, but now they're 2-3. So big rivalry win against the Argos, and nobody knows what I'm talking about, but
No.
that's fine.
So let me ask you, what did you think about, you know, this week is, you know, the big 300 show of Dynamite. Did that like jump out as, like, I mean, obviously they mentioned it a few times, but 300 shows, that's what, 6 years almost, maybe something like that, almost 6 years.
Getting close to it, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So it was, I mean, it was good to,
Well, actually, I'll put it this way. Bryce was the one who made it very specific, saying that he was missing Wednesday's show because he was celebrating his son's 5th birthday, and that his son, or it was his son's 5th birthday, and the first episode of Dynamite happened to be exactly 5 years and 9 months ago. So you can tell what he's implying there. So yes.
So we know how close we are to 6 then, don't we? So that's
yeah, 6 years will be the beginning of October.
That's crazy. You know, kudos to them. I mean, especially like you know, all the changes we've had recently. I was just thinking about it, how we get less product from them now. Yeah, it was 2 years ago that AEW was here in Rochester. That's right. Got to hang out with Rennie there.
Wasn't it more than that?
It was the second time they came. That's I believe
Maybe
it
that's
was.
right.
Yeah,
No,
Danhausen.
well, because they were here in 2021. I thought the next one was the year after, but maybe it was. I don't know. That's all a blur.
Yeah, it is. It is. So
Because obviously that first show got postponed 6 times, then finally happened late September of 2021 because that was that crazy week with um, the 2CW reunion shows,
oh, yeah.
or I guess I should say the first 2 of 3 2CW reunion shows. I don't know what's going on, but yeah.
So yeah, okay. So the crazy time. So it was gonna it made me think of you were talking just a little bit ago about Hangman taking out Marina Shafir with his finisher this past Monday, and you mentioned on the Indies it's more common thing. In fact, and I think I recall Matt Cardona saying he broke Shotzi's arm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's I mean I think it's very common on at a lot of companies, not all of them. It's only been kind of like, for example, in ESW, it's only been kind of here and there, a little bit, but like GCW, I would say it happens on average every show, at least once. There wasn't a ton. Like yesterday was just the backyard show where everybody breaks out their old backyard gimmicks and they just do a fun show in a backyard and um, backyard USA. And I don't think there were any women wrestlers on the show other than Pizza Cat Jr., which just, I mean, that was Billy Starks under a mask. Um, but Shotzi was supposed to be on that show, Pizza Cat Senior, but had travel issues. But I know she's wrestling tonight in Montreal for Maple Leaf Pro, as
Oh,
is Cardona. So who knows what could happen there?
so what I was getting the gist is there a possibility in GCW we're going to see a Cardona Shotzi cage match to follow up? Because I've heard the challenge thrown out there a few times.
I think there's
Can you
a
talk
very
about
good
that for a
chance.
sec? Can you talk about that for 1 second while I do something? Let my dog out real quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would assume that there's a possibility of something like that happening. I think that, you know, Shotzi first came back to the Indies. Her first appearance back, well, second technically, was GCW and being the surprise entrant for the Tournament of Survival in Atlantic City a few weeks ago. So she went right back into right from WWE into a deathmatch tournament. And in that situation, um, she was the only woman in that tournament, and had some crazy matches. I believe she got to the finals and lost to Matt Tremont there. So she's no stranger to that type of match. So yeah, I would certainly assume that Shotzi and Cardona will be building this up and feuding probably for a while, and have a big match. I don't really have any knowledge, specifically of that, but that's certainly where it seems to be going at this point. And that's the answer on that. And Rich has left, and now he's back, and so we'll stop talking about the cash stash, and
Oh, how are you killing time here? Hold on.
yeah, no, went through the whole.
My dog was giving me that. I've got to go out right now, or you're going to be sorry. Look, it's like okay.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, Shotzi, she came back from WWE and went straight into like a death match tournament. So against all guys. So yeah, I certainly would expect her and Cardona to be on a collision course into some craziness and hopefully
Well, you saw. I'm sure you saw the picture of him riding her tank, right?
Yes, ran over her arm
Over
with
her, yeah.
yeah, with her own tank. Yeah, that's just a despicable move.
But yeah, so that
makes
made
me
me
miss
think,
my Power Wheels days. Yeah.
seriously. So that made me think: is this something that could happen in GCW? That I mean, to
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely seems like it's being built up up there, and she's obviously working a ton of dates for GCW. Already has, and I think she might be on or no, tomorrow's show is JCW. There's a GCW show tonight in Hartford, and Maple Leaf Pro has their show in Montreal tonight, and then JCW is live and free on YouTube tomorrow. So a lot of wrestling going on this weekend, but yeah, I don't really know what the deal is with her injury status because she had cast and she's wrestling, and so I think she's trying to do what she can for now. But I believe there's some legit stuff going on with the arm. So
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I think half the reason she was let go by WWE is because every time she started to get pushed, she got injured, and it was not her fault. I mean, that's happened to a few people, that they have like a lot of things they want to do with you and a great storyline and everything plotted out, and then you have a tag match and you get hurt with somebody, and it just kind of ruins it for you and your tag partner, especially if you like won the belts the week before or something. Like Raquel Rodriguez, that happened a couple times where she won belts and then got hurt like the next match, and then then their tag partner had to sit, and that's not always didn't always agree. What's your philosophy on that as a booker? If you have a tag team that you've got plans for and one of them gets hurt, do you like just? I think only maybe once or twice in WWE do I ever remember them sending people out solo for a while after something like that happened. Big Cass was one of them, and he actually really got over. It's probably the most he ever got over in his career. And when what's his name was hurt, but
Enzo.
yeah, Enzo. What do you think? I mean, as someone who may be on the booking side of this, obviously a weekly show is a little bit tougher because it's a weekly show instead of like once every couple weeks or anything.
Yeah, I missed a brief part of that. Were you talking about like Shotzi's injury or somebody else's?
Yeah, Shotzi's and
Yeah.
other. I said there's been a few people in WWE who've like lost their jobs because they had plans for them, and then they get injured, and they throw them into a tag team to start out, and then they get injured after winning a title, and so then they have to sit on it for a while. And
Yeah.
a lot of times people disappear when their tag partner disappears. Other times it doesn't happen. But as a booker, that's kind of what got Big Cass over, I think, by himself.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to go with that. I mean, that kind of happened earlier this year with GCW, with Jordan Oliver coming in, him coming back from a year off with an injury, but Alec Price and Cole Radrick they won the tag titles at Hammerstein after a long build up on that, and then Cole ended up tearing his ACL 2 months later, pretty early into whatever their run would have been. So they ended up losing the tag titles, and then very quickly kind of winning them back with Cole coming out on crutches and introducing the return of Jordan, and then Jordan and Alec Price won the tag titles. So Alec got the belt back, and he's now got a new partner while Cole's off. So, that's one way to go with it. Certainly, you can do the singles thing. Sometimes there's plenty of situations where it's just, I mean, yeah, it's ruined everything for the other partner, for the healthy partner, because everything just gets scrapped or put on hold or whatever. So, there's no real one fix it for that type of situation from a booking perspective, but it's definitely something that unfortunately happens pretty frequently, and you've got to be willing to adapt and change. Like I think the major companies are doing a better job than ever right now in terms of long-term booking and planning things out and stuff, but there's so many situations where this is what you're planning on, but now you got to figure something else out. It's the nature of the business, nature of how physical and how easy it is to get hurt in wrestling, unfortunately. So
yeah, ask Adam Cole, he'll tell you.
yeah. Yeah.
Big-
And I mean, that's one of the biggest ones for sure. I mean, from a storyline perspective, with that whole devil thing and everything, and who knows if, I mean, I think it was pretty clear that Cole was going to win the world title in that feud 2 years ago. And at this point, do I think he's going to get back to the point where we think he's going to win the world title? I don't know.
Well, today he's 36, so today's his birthday.
happy birthday to Adam Cole. Then.
Happy birthday, Adam Cole. He's 36. Yeah, that's a good. I mean, he is holding a title right now. So I mean, but will he get back to that?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that. Will he get back to it? It's a question. That was that's kind of, and that's kind of what some of these last cuts in WWE were over, were people who had multiple injuries after being inserted into like main event storylines like down in NXT and stuff. So it's like I feel bad for him, but it's like sometimes you can train all you want in the world to be a wrestler, and one landing goes wrong, and boom, you're Adam Cole with a broken ankle, and yeah.
Well, and it's really tricky too, because I look at it from an aspect of there's the injuries happen, and sometimes obviously they're much longer term than others. Sometimes they're ones that you'll never recover 100% from. Sometimes it kills a storyline. Sometimes you're never going to get that opportunity again. And it reminds me a lot sometimes also, unfortunately, of like playoff hockey, where somehow we're still at a point with like hiding major injuries that players are playing through in the playoffs, even though like they should be in a hospital at that point. It's tricky because like there certainly have been situations where like wrestlers don't want to like totally reveal what's going on with them physically because they don't want to lose their push, or they think that it's not going to happen again once they're ready to come back, or things like that. And I think from a medical perspective, you want your people to get the medical attention that they need. And sometimes it's more obvious than others. The one that concerns me the most is concussions, obviously, in sports and certainly in pro wrestling, because that's something where I think there's still way too many examples of people coming back too soon from that. Whatever. The Adam Cole thing is different because we all saw it happen when he hopped off the stage at Arthur Ashe. I mean, that in that moment, it's just like, you got to be kidding me. Like I can't imagine what was going through his mind in that moment. But
he had just come back from something. I think it was a concussion right before that. He had something that had him out just a couple weeks, and then he came back raring, and it's like, and then jumping off the stage there, and it's like, oh, yuck. Yeah, no, it's pretty sad, and it happens a lot, and it's just unfortunately, I was just going through like a list of people that I saw were hurt. That's kind of like, even like right now, Chad Gable's out. He had a shoulder surgery. They kind of wrote him off TV a couple weeks ago, and he was doing this whole, Americano, luchador, and now someone else is now wearing the suit. We saw it this past Monday, and it was kind of obvious where they were going with it. But it's a shame because like they've written him into two different storylines, and then they have to go back and like hopefully it was a shoulder surgery. He didn't say much about exactly what it was, but he did post a picture of him laying in a hospital bed, so he definitely is down for the count. But that was that's once again another unfortunate injury. There's another one too that just, what else did I see this past week? Oh yeah, Trey Miguel from TNA. He had something, a hernia or something, and he won't be able to wrestle for a while. And he was like really getting pushed in this angle on Impact for like the last few weeks with the Rascals and everything. And it's a shame because he's a solid wrestler too.
He's so good. Yeah. I mean, I always, I think he's so underrated, and unfortunately at least 2/3 of the Rascals have had some tough injury stuff going on as of late. But Trey Miguel doesn't get enough praise for how good he is. I remember there was a match that I called in ESW 3 years ago. Wow. That was supposed to be Jay Lethal against Buddy Matthews, and then Buddy had to pull out or got hurt something. And so Trey Miguel was the replacement. And I was super excited to call that first match. But the second match was just as good. It was Jay Lethal against Trey Miguel. I would put that on, I don't know how many matches I've called total, but it's got to be it's got to be in the top at least 10, if not top 5 matches I've ever called. It was so good. And I mean, plenty of the credit for that goes to Trey Miguel.
Incredible wrestler. Gonna be sidelined for a bit, but I did want to mention that it's Ludwig Kaiser now, who's apparently in the mask El Grande Americano masks now. So, and it's only obvious. It was only obvious it was Chad Gable as well before, but yeah, it's like that obviously was unexpected. So, but yeah, you worry about these things going in right now. Quote unquote, All In's not being affected by too much of an injury or too many injuries. I think they've been playing it safe, really, coming up to the pay-per-view with, like, not having super crazy matches and stuff. Even though some of the people that wrestle every week on Dynamite and Collision, man, just solid wrestling. If you like wrestling over like storylines, I mean, there's a little storyline and everything, but this last few weeks of Dynamite and Collision have been, just solid matches, the whole, and you can't beat that, if you like the in-ring action. TNA's much like that too as well. WWE, you get like 10 minutes in the first hour or something,
Yeah, I really do think that AEW is on one of its best runs right now. My hope is that they can keep this going after All In. I think it helps that you've got Forbidden Door coming up, a month and a half from now. So, which is different because that's normally in June. And I know in like the last couple of years, it's been like, well, All In was in August, and then you like went straight to All Out the very next weekend or whatever. But it's always tricky in these situations because normally that's like the big like WrestleMania reset or whatever, once you get past things. But I think one very common theme on this show that we talked about. What's the word that I've used the most on this show?
Predictable. I don't know.
There it is. We got it. There it is. It was a predictable thing for me to question, to have you answer. Yes. And I think when you look at the card for All In, there are certainly things that you could do to think, oh, maybe Moxley retains. And I think there is still a slight chance of that because I believe that match is going on last. I think it has to at this point. But a week or two ago, there could have been a chance that either Mercedes and Tony or even Okada and Omega could have closed the show. I don't think you could close All In next week with Jon Moxley retaining and have a riot in Dallas. I don't think that that's a possibility. I do think Hangman will win. But outside of that match, I think this is the most unpredictable AEW pay-per-view card in a long time. Maybe ever. There are a lot of question marks and stuff, and that's what probably has me most interested for the show. Is this could go in so many different directions. I honestly, right now, without thinking about it too much, like Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné, like that could go either way. It really could.
I think that could be the main event too. I mean,
I kind of wish it was.
I'm thinking. The more I go on, the more I think, gosh, how can you not have Mercedes Moné win this title? I mean, it's
well, it's tough too because, like, first of all, like everybody out there calling her Mercedes Hogan and all this stuff, like, I understand if she's not your cup of tea, but in my opinion, she's put on more incredible matches than anybody else with a TV contract in the past year, man or woman. I'm just gonna say that right now without like doing research on it or whatever, just off the top of my head. She's not the one who like the things that I've seen people comment about, like her winning these titles, like, oh, Tony Khan's paying this company money for Mercedes. Are you kidding me? Like, these companies absolutely want Mercedes to work for them and win their title and wear their title on TV and stuff. You think that like they're like, some of these conspiracy theories and stuff are crazy to me, but I think that she also has this clear respect and friendship with Tony off screen that I feel like Mercedes, as much as people want to say like, she's got creative control and she won't lose, blah blah blah. It's a big opportunity for that. Like when you have somebody go on a huge winning streak, their loss is a huge deal. It does a ton for putting the other person over. This might be the time to do that. And it's a situation where Mercedes can lose and not lose her TBS title. And it could help even further elevate Tony Storm. Um, I also think that Mercedes should win the world title soon, and elevate that title and everything. And so I really think it could go either way.
I was gonna say Tony doesn't need a title. I think that's one thing we've always kind of agreed upon.
Yeah.
That, and we knew that after All In last year. And I guess I saw an interview with Tony where that she thought that was the worst ever to lose last year, but it was like that. That was the buildup. Now
That she thought it was bad to lose to Mariah, or
yeah. She just didn't. She wasn't happy about how the match came out. She said. So
was that in character? Because I feel like she was such
character.
Good friends with
I
Mariah.
I think it was in. She doesn't do anything out of character. Even when Danny went up to her in the line,
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
there was no out of character with her. So, but that's why I always take it with a grain of salt with everything that I read online, especially when people are doing in character interviews. So, and I figured I've never seen Tony Storm ever not in character interview, except for like maybe when Tony Storm was in NXT or whatever, or other times when before she discovered Timeless, but I'm enjoying this build up, and I think they're giving it a lot of time, and I think I have a feeling just Mercedes. I mean, yes, it would be crowning achievement for Tony to win, but man, I think it'd be bigger for Mercedes Moné, and then you can just maybe we just get rid of all those other belts in the process or something. I mean, that's being a belt collector is fun, but you don't see him like doing it for years and years and years. It's like Kenny Omega when he was collecting the belts for a while. He went to TNA and tried to win their title. It was I know it was long. It was 3 years ago. It seemed like it's forever ago, but I think that that those are fun. I think fun runs. I mean, WWE let what was it Ultimo Dragon come out with like 6 belts when he was was signed with them. Never let him win anything though, because he fell down his very first match and they held that against him forever. Or so I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just I'm just I thought it was great though when she got belly slammed and the belts went flying all over the ring 2 weeks ago. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah,
Such a good visual. Yeah, I can't imagine like how much, especially because she's literally going around the world and working for these different companies. Like, it's different if it's just an AEW show, but she's actually traveling all these places with all of those belts. Like, that sounds like pure hell to me. So credit to her for doing that, because like, imagine taking that many belts like in your carry-on. Like, what else you can't, I don't know. Like, the whole thing is just bizarre to me to think about. Like, the amount of carrying those around and stuff is just brutal. Like you guys are always talking about like the pass the belt game or whatever. Like, imagine like here pass 8 belts at once. Like, don't fall over though. Like,
that'd be a lot of fun actually. So yeah, I did want to mention another thing from Dynamite. That would be Kenny Omega showing back up, and to build that hype for the Okada match, which will probably be the best match on the show, if not close, or not close with maybe Strickland and Osprey versus the Young Bucks. I don't know. There's so much good stuff on this card. I'm just scared they're going to add like 4 or 5 more matches, and then with these casino battle royales going on or gauntlet matches going on, I don't know how long those are going to last. It could be a very long night a week from today. I don't have a problem with a lot of it, but it's like when you were looking forward to certain matches on the card and then you have to wait through a bunch of them, even though it's not like you dislike it or anything, it's just that, it's like, well, this is, these are the high points of the pay-per-view, and it's like whenever if it's midnight when it starts the main event, then it's going to be like, thank God we got Sunday. I guess it's a good thing it's not a Sunday night pay-per-view, but very
No,
excited.
I mean, it's a 3 o'clock on a Saturday, so it's perfect.
Yeah, that's true. It's
The, I mean, there are issues. Middle of the day in Texas in the middle of July sounds like hell to me. Been there, done that. Um, but there was something else. I don't remember who it was that brought it up, but it was a pretty good point in terms of, like talking about the attendance and everything, and the ticket sales and comparing them to Wembley and all this stuff, is that you have, without getting onto a total tangent or anything, because it's pretty clear to listeners of this show how I feel about a lot of stuff, but from a political atmosphere, let's just say I think it's fair that everybody could agree that right now is a very low point in terms of people around the world wanting to travel to the United States of America. This show happening in Texas next week, because of the climate politically, and issues with border stuff and agents going through your phones and all this kind of stuff, whatever. Like, um, I know a bunch of people who traveled to Wembley from the States to see All In the last couple years. I know people who are big wrestling fans in the UK who would probably, in a normal time frame, um, in a fun timeline, would probably consider flying over for such a big show, but won't do it right now. So I do think there's something like that to consider for some lower attendances than maybe expected for any large wrestling show taking place in the United States this year, be it a an All In Texas, or even SummerSlam coming up in a few weeks, things like that. I think that is a factor that has to be considered in terms of, like, what could it be if you're not losing out on that. I mean, every single WrestleMania, there's video packages and stuff, or DVD extras back in the day or whatever, and stuff of like all, like, interviewing all these fans who have traveled from like every country around the world to be at these shows. People love doing that. Like, it's a cool thing to base a vacation off of. And I just don't think that's happening for this show, because of that whole situation.
I agree. I agree. And it's like that may change. And next year, Tony said they're going back to London. I guess, what was it? Is it Oasis who's playing?
No, it's Coldplay. I wish it was. If it
Coldplay.
were Oasis, it'd be a little more understandable or forgivable. But it's Coldplay.
Coldplay. So that's why they're not. That's how they're not going to. But they said they'll be back next year there. So
Shout out to Oasis actually reuniting and actually playing. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Or
Last night was,
there
last night
were
was their first
literally,
show.
like, I remember going on like betting apps a year ago where you could bet, like, will this actually happen? Like, will Liam and Noel like actually fight on stage? Like, all this kind of stuff or whatever. But
They
so
held
far
hands.
so good, I guess.
I read they held hands when they came out last night, or when they left last night. So
Yeah, saw a picture of it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
so
try to catch some video of it. So
they're in Toronto in November, is it? I think. I know they're coming close to. That's
I
close.
don't remember, but I know the tickets went super fast.
Yeah, and they did
So.
more in one day too. I think they have like 2 or 3 days. So, but yeah, I saw the set list. It looked really cool. I would definitely go if they came anywhere closer, or I could get free tickets. Or no, not free tickets, but
I don't think they're in a situation where they needed to give out any comps. That's for
well,
sure.
they're doing Rogers Center, aren't they? Isn't that where
Mhm.
they're? Yeah, so that holds 56,000 people at least. So
Rogers Center, home of the first place 6 wins in a row, Toronto Blue Jays. Just want to point that out there.
I just suffered them.
We don't have to talk about the 4-game sweep. I won't bring up the 4-game sweep and how much fun that was to watch.
It's early in the season. It's
not early in the season. We're past the midway point.
Let's see where it's. Well, when will they collapse? That, like, no, I'm not saying they're gonna. I like Toronto. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have your first baseman. But I mean,
You're not taking Vlad. Are you going to give Aaron Judge for him? Like,
no, probably not. So let me get to some news and then we'll get out of here. I think I don't know if you saw earlier on the show when you were trying to get in that Tala Tonga is now a member of he's
I'm
part of
guessing that's Hikuleo.
that Sikaleo. Yeah. Is that how you say
Okay.
Sikaleo? Yeah. Now
Hikuleo, yeah.
where did he come from? I know is he like a former football player or something? I don't, or is he just technically really one of the younger new Samoan wrestlers that's part of the family, quote unquote.
No, I mean he was he's not super young at this point. You know, he's been in Bullet Club and the GOD, the Gorillas of Destiny.
That's
You
right.
know,
I remember.
he's been around New Japan for I don't know, probably not, maybe not a full decade, but quite a while. But apparently he signed with WWE like I don't know if that was like a year ago or something. Like it's been a long time that they've been waiting to debut him, and I don't know if they've just been working with him on stuff at the PC or what. But what'd you say his name is now?
Tala Tonga.
Halatonga. Okay. Because that won't get confused with all the other names that
Yeah,
they,
there's Tongaloa and there's Tamatonga.
they didn't want to call him like HK Mateo or any of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he does well. Um, I mean, they still have Tama Tonga there, and let me put it this way: some members of that extended family, or however you want to group some of the Samoan wrestlers together and stuff, like some are much better than others. Hikuleo's got size, obviously. Was he like 6'8" or something? But um, I don't know if you're gonna get better matches out of a Jeff Cobb.
yeah.
If has he had matches? I don't even.
He red wrestled last night as part of a tag team. He's done.
Okay.
He's part of the tag. The group is now called My Family Tree (MFT). And
What?
yeah,
That sounds like an infomercial. Are you kidding me?
yeah, no. So
For $6 a month, you can subscribe to My Family Tree and get like all your updates as to your. Oh, come on, who came up with that?
I don't know. I
Ugh.
had a hard time with since that Roman Reigns is no longer part of their group of coming up with a name for them. So I think, but he's been out. He's been on the road with them the last couple of weeks. He's been coming out and doing pre-show matches right before the show starts, and so I've been reading that he's done a bunch of them. And so they were working him in whether or not maybe he was like maybe he had an MLW contract or something with somebody else where he couldn't do anything for a while after they signed him. But yeah, I would say he's very limited, very Andre the Giant, very great collie. He's a big dude. He's very tall. They're not going to let him do moonsaults. He's going to be doing like power moves and that's all he's done. He's going to be like the Diesel for this group. He's just going to stand there most of the time.
I mean, he's somebody that like. There's probably some fans that recognize like he did. I don't know, a handful of AEW matches back in the day. I know there was a show in Charlotte that he wrestled Lance Archer. I think that was for the IWGP US title at that point. But he's been around a little bit. He's done, some work in ROH back when they were doing a ton of like work with New Japan. He's done stuff like Bullet Club stuff with Impact. So I mean he's been around. I don't know. I don't when I'm thinking about people that are part of that family that I want to see wrestle personally, like it's Jacob Fatu and then it's or JC Mateo. Yeah, I don't know.
Tongaloa.
It's not a couple of them, but some of them are amazing. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, well, Fatu is amazing, and
Jacob Fatu's awesome.
Yeah, or Jacob Fatu. Sorry, not Zilla.
I heard he. Zilla. Yeah, I mean Zilla. Man, that's a.
I thought he would be.
I wonder what's going to happen there.
He'd be debuting already by now. He hasn't though. Yeah,
he's not signed. But he. I don't know how much we talked about that last year or whatever, but like I remember like when I called his match with, because he was in a tag match with Jacob here in Rochester. That was Jacob's last match on the Indies.
Yeah.
And then the next show in Rochester after that, Zilla had a singles match against Gringo Loco, who, shout out, will be back again at ESW in 3 weeks. And that match was one of my absolute favorites to call last year. It was so good. And it was at that point where I was just like, okay, I'll be honest, like initially I wasn't totally sold on Zilla. He was so new. He was getting a lot of opportunities. He was getting a lot of work, getting to do tags with Jacob and stuff and learning. And by the time he got to his last few GCW matches, like he was killing it. And that match with Gringo was awesome.
I was there. That was the second time they were here in town, I think.
I think that was the September show maybe last year, the second one.
Yeah.
And like, and then that was his last match in GCW.
Remember that because he like didn't he like had he like relinquished titles and stuff like that because we assumed he was signed, sealed, delivered.
I don't know how much we've talked about this or revealed on all this and stuff, but he like there was a situation with trying to get a rather large increase on his booking fee, including traveling members of his management to shows and stuff. And it was just it was a really, I shouldn't speak that much about it, but it was much more than being like, oh, my rate's gone up like $50 or something. Like it was one of those like, dude, you're still only like a year in or whatever. And I hate to say that because like he was the nicest dude. Like him, just like Jacob, like the two most excited people to get a garbage plate. Like I really hope that things turn around for Zilla, whether he gets signed. I still think like, especially thought like a year ago or whatever, but now like he still needs more reps. And the problem is that his, without looking at it, like I think his bookings have probably been cut in half from what they were a year ago, and like he was getting better because he was getting so many reps, and getting to work top notch people on shows, and he's still working good workers when he's wrestling, but like I said, I mean, it's been almost a year that he's been out of GCW and places, and I just I hope things change on all of that because there's certainly a lot of potential there. But I don't know how it's going to go.
His name was shuffled around a lot.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they were expanding, the group in WWE, and so his name was brought up a lot, and that's maybe.
Well, in the first like GCW booking that he was pulled from, everybody's just like, "Oh, he got signed." Like, no, he didn't. Like,
yeah, that's it's like, and I think he was anticipating it too. I mean, obviously you can.
Well, because that, quite honestly, that is what happened with Jacob. I mean, he wrestled the show in Rochester last March, and then he was booked. I want to say he was part of the Punjabi prison match that was booked, but he was booked for the Mania weekend stuff in Philly with GCW, and then was pulled off of that, and that was because he got signed. So everybody kind of assumed like, okay, well now the same thing's happened with Zilla, like 6 months later, or whatever, but not the case. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's obviously that family is that whole Samoan group is just on top of the world in so many ways these last 5 years, especially or whatever. But I'm curious, I guess, to see like how much they continue to be at the top of WWE, and if it's for enough time that allows for more of the up and comers like Zilla to get signed. So we'll see. But hell of a talent. I mean, I really hope Zilla does make it to the quote unquote major leagues or whatever, because he's got it. Like he needs more work. He's somebody who could benefit from a PC and stuff like that too. But there's absolutely potential there that is worth giving him a contract, and even if it's a project.
And maybe he's just waiting too. That could be a lot to do with it too. Is he could just like, yeah, they're gonna run out of Samoans eventually. So I don't know. I mean, he definitely. I've seen his name recently with some other bookings too. So it was like
Yeah, and he's still pretty young too. I mean, um, still going to be early 20s maybe. I mean, so um, there's plenty. And he's, I mean, pretty close on the family tree or my family tree. Jeez. That like he he's pretty directly close to other major people, past and present in WWE. Being Umaga's son and stuff. So I certainly think that like people with some power or some say in suggesting things to Triple H and others, like I think there's people vouching for him for sure. I mean, especially now that Jacob's there too. So
Oh yeah, and I will say that Roman Reigns, just to stay on that for a second, just had like his sixth baby with his wife this past week. So now it kind of explains why he might be been gone for a while. But yeah, we will see. We will see. But he's, Tala Tonga is the newest member of the faction. And Tama Tonga still is not back from injury, but Tonga Loa came back as well at the last pay-per-view, the whatever is Night of Champions, King of the Ring finals, whatever they wanted, Queen of the Ring finals. So that
Blood
was
Money 45.
yeah, that was the big debut on that show, and maybe the most shocking thing I think of the whole thing. So I'm going to go through some news and we'll get out of here. And that was actually the first piece of news. But if you're going to watch Collision tonight and you don't want to know who won, don't go online. But if you want to know who's wrestling, I'll tell you right now. We got Kyle Fletcher and Daniel Garcia, which was made on Dynamite this past week.
Looking forward to watching that match.
FDR versus the Outrunners. They've got this little thing going now. I liked it when they were together, and then when they broke up, FTR started making fun of them all the time. So you're going to see Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum against Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler tonight. You definitely don't want to miss that.
I'm curious if this is leading to something at All In. Like it's very strange when you've got this timing of like big storylines, feuds happening, but then like the match is taking place on TV within a week of your biggest show of the year. Like it seems kind of soon for a rematch or whatever, or you could have just held it for the pay-per-view or whatever. But I don't know. Still looking forward to watching that one, see what happens.
So, and then we've, by the way, Queen Aminata, what is her finisher or what was the, there was two weeks ago.
I assume you're not talking about her finisher. You're talking about her signature,
yeah,
maneuver.
Black hole. Is that what it was? Something like that. That thing that now that seems to be popular amongst women wrestlers, where they like get someone in with their legs around their head and they do push-ups into their face, kind of, I hope that doesn't last long. It just does. It looks like something you would see maybe on Playboy After Night when you're watching or something, but is
that still a thing? I know you still have like cable, so I don't know.
Cable. I don't know.
I don't know if that's still a thing, like the Spice Channel or whatever, and
Spice Channel or Skin or something like that. So
watching WWF pay-per-views on screened out pay-per-view,
that's like become a popular move by some people in both. Yeah, I've seen it in TNA as well as NXT. So, but where they jam their butt in your face while they got you in head scissors, kind of. Yeah, and then they gave it the name, and then the funniest part about it is, Nigel goes, "That's what it's called," and Tony said, "I know," and you could hear the disappointment in his voice.
Yeah. I don't even remember what it's called, but I mean it's happened in the past, but yeah, it's certainly popular right now, and you could tell that I feel like it was proof in the most recent match that Sky Blue and Queen Aminata are real life best friends, because Sky took that maneuver more than other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some people pull it off better than others. But the Queen Aminata thing is very interesting right now. I'm curious to see where this is going because there's
I'm not.
clearly
They got a
some
win over Sky Blue, so it's like what?
there's clearly some there's some stuff that seems to be like Queen Aminata and Tekla had a very interesting match in was that Tekla's debut or second? I think it was her first match. Um, and things got a little bit heated, and then there was some stuff on social media that made it seem like they weren't really like Queen Aminata wasn't totally over the situation, and I don't know. Then Queen Aminata's got a put out a post this week that was kind of taking a shot at Britt Baker. So I hopefully we're not headed toward another like AEW drama time period. This is not a good time for that to happen. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Queen's she's improved. She's a good part of that roster for sure. But I'm also curious. Like, well, you're going through that line. Is Tekla on the show tonight or no?
I do not see Tekla on it though.
Like they debut her and all this stuff, and then like disappears. I don't know. I don't understand this stuff. Like you see a bunch of a person for 2 or 3 weeks after they debut, and then it's just like, where'd they go?
Yeah, but I've seen him do the same with Megan Bain. So it's like Megan Bain though is in this. Oh, wait a second, Tekla is in this match. Pardon me. It's Thunder Rosa, Queen Aminata, Anna Jay, and Ty Mello versus Ring of Honor World Champ Athena, Tekla, Megan Bain, and Julia Hart in an all-star 8-woman. You're going to see this move. You definitely want to not miss that. I guess if you're into.
Well, and I guess it makes sense. Like I'm very happy. I mean, we've been talking about it for so long. Like we're finally getting a women's casino gauntlet. The men's match has been so popular. It's refreshing because it's different and stuff. And like, so I'm very happy they're doing a women's version of it at All In. And so I'm assuming that's where like all of those women you just mentioned are going to factor in to the show. I wish Athena had a singles match on the show. I know she's defending her title the night before on the ROH show. But with her in her hometown and all that kind of stuff, like hopefully she gets at least a very good run in that gauntlet match next week.
So we have one more. This is for tonight. So this is free stuff, folks. Mystico, Hologram, and Mark Briscoe versus is it Henchicero? Is that how you say it? Henchicero, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta. Shelton Benjamin versus that's that match, and then we have Shelton Benjamin versus Kevin Knight versus Nick Wayne in a 3-way. We haven't seen Shelton Benjamin's on every week. Do we see him wrestle every week? No, rarely do we. So it'll be a good thing. And it was taped in Ontario, California this past week. Followed up right after, I'm guessing, Dynamite because it was an early start. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention. And I know, man, we are like an hour and 15 minutes into the show, but man, Raw last week started at 6:00 and it ended at 8:30. And I knew this was going to happen. I just completely forgot about it this past week. So I get home to turn on Raw at 8:00 and there's one match and it ends. And it's like, what's going on? And it's like, oh, I completely forgot that they were there. And I would love to know the reason why they would do a 6:00 p.m. show Monday Night Raw in Pittsburgh.
Because they were taping SmackDown after, and they wanted to let everybody get home after doing the whole Saudi trip and not have to do a live SmackDown show on the 4th of July.
Oh, I didn't realize SmackDown was taped. So okay, makes sense. I thought that they stuck them in Pittsburgh for a week. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like completely forgot about that, and I had to go back and watch it because it was like I went back to watch it. And it's like, what did I miss something? Because it stopped, and it's like I don't remember all these matches earlier. And it's like, oh, I'm a dummy. Thank you to Super Beast for pointing that out to me. So so this that I'm a dummy. Yes. Okay. No. AEW Collision tonight. We've got for this week coming up some WWE shows. SmackDown. They've announced next Friday that we're gonna have Street Profits versus Eric Rowan and Dexter Loomis for the WWE tag match. R-Truth is going to take on Aleister Black, and Jelly Roll appears. So I hear Jelly Roll's got a part in SummerSlam. Kudos to him. He's lost a lot of weight since that time he got helped up at WrestleMania. Maybe he's going to wrestle. I don't know. But so that's
what it sounds like.
It does, unfortunately. He'll be tagging with somebody. You know, maybe it's who's the guy that showed up in the main event of WrestleMania that made
Travis Scott, who then
Travis Scott.
disappeared. Yeah.
We'll have
Yeah, there was a big
Travis
point to
Scott.
all of that.
Yeah, I think Cody came out and defended it, I guess, but he said Travis Scott was training and he's not very good at being there for training or something like that. But Cody, I've not.
He should have gotten some more training in before he hit Cody.
Yeah, when he
busted him up. Yeah, I don't understand the whole situation. I'm very
Cody?
curious. Like the one WWE thing that I am wondering what's going to happen is who is going to be Cena's final opponent. Not Travis Scott, obviously, but is he going to be putting over a younger talent, like a Braun Breaker or somebody, or is he going to maybe wrestle The Rock in his last match? Because I think like the Orton thing is already out. Cody will be out by then. You know, like that. Like there's not a ton of possibilities there. Obviously, Copeland is over in AEW. Could it be what would that be, like thrice in a lifetime? Him and Rock.
Yeah,
but I could see that maybe happening. I almost hope that is the case, just because of how they just did this whole thing with The Rock, and then The Rock was just gone.
A lot of people are complaining about that too. You know, during this match with CM Punk, he had this at Night of Champions. There came a point where everyone was interfering, and then they cleaned the ring out, and then but the interference were attacking both wrestlers, Punk and John Cena. So it got to the point where Punk and John Cena were the only ones left in the match, and they went to shake hands and hug, and then they did that zoom in on John Cena's face again, like they did with the Cody Rhodes, and then he took a step back and tried to kick Punk in the man junk. I mean, it was like a shot for shot remake of what happened at was it WrestleMania, or was it the one before WrestleMania where he kicked him in oh no, it was WrestleMania actually. Yeah. And it was like, no, it wasn't. It was after
the turn was an Elimination Chamber.
The turn. Yeah. It was an elimination. So it was a shot.
Which took place at the Rogers Center, home of the first place in the AL East, Toronto Blue Jays.
Finding some transitions there. So, but nevertheless, they did the same thing over that they had done. And then obviously Punk ended up losing in the long run. But so hold on, let me get on. So we have the Saturday night's main event, which you won't be watching because we'll be watching All In. But
what time is? Well, I won't be watching. You're right, because I don't care about Goldberg. But I think is that like 8 o'clock or something?
Yeah, that's at night. So there's a chance. Yeah,
All In starts at 3. So I would hope it's done by 8. Jeez, if it's not done by 8, oh my God.
Well, I mean, yeah, it does have that early start.
Because it probably means the 0 hour, aka the 0 hour and a half, will probably start at 1:30 Eastern.
That's a good thing, I think. I think this is a good thing that will allow people won't be nearly as mad as WWE if these shows don't cross over, which they probably.
Well, but Great American Bash is taking place in the afternoon.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
in
right.
front of like the 14 tickets they've sold at Center Stage in Atlanta. So
that's a big disaster. I've seen the ticket sales. They're probably going to move it.
The ticket sales look awful too. Is the Evolution shows the next day?
Yeah.
Or because the ticket sales aren't great for that either.
Evolution is Sunday night, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, the ticket sales for Saturday night's main event, I think, are doing well, but the other 2 shows not as much.
There's only 3 announced matches for that. Obviously, Gunther, Goldberg. We got Rollins and LA Knight, and McIntyre and Randy Orton was made last night. So that, and then we have Evolution 2, which they just brought in Trish Stratus last night to take on Trish Stratus taking on Tiffany Stratton. I almost call her Stratus. They made that match last night. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, JC Jane, Jordan Grace. So we're getting some Becky Lynch, Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria for the Intercontinental. It's all titles, which is good.
That's not a card that I was really hoping you were going to say like an intriguing match, because like I do like the thought of that show, and I enjoyed the first one they did, but like Trish isn't taking or shouldn't take the title from Tiffany. Io and Rhea has happened how many times?
Yeah. In fact, like, Io is one most.
They got to come up with some new stuff for this, or maybe also find some like legends that don't come back every 6 months.
There are a bunch of people not announced for it, and they do have a women's battle royale. So
Triple H needs to be. I mean, Triple H was at one time the leader of D-Generation X. If he's not on the phone right now trying to find DX Tori and bring her back finally after like 25 years, then he's not doing his job. That'll make me tune in.
we'll get Michelle McCool. I'm sorry.
Ugh. Oh, Hall of Famer Michelle McCool.
Yes.
Yeah, her and the Bellas who, led this whole women's evolution, and
Sorry.
okay. Mm-hmm.
Great for women's wrestling that we had to mention those names with that revolution
Because there's such good wrestlers on the same level as the Charlottes and Beckys and Baileys and Sashas and
so Bieber gets some more news because we got to get out of here. So Tony Khan has been dabbling with the idea of rebranding Ring of Honor and putting it under the AEW umbrella and basically just changing the name to AEW Ring of Honor. I don't know how much that would help or hurt. I don't, I mean, basically that's what it is, but just changing the name of it, I don't know if that's a big deal or not, but it's been dabbled around. People were talking.
Yeah, somebody asked him about it last year, and I know he got asked about it again this week. And so, I mean, I know it's something that he's considered, but I don't know how much like they're truly looking into that. The whole structure is very weird to me. And I don't know if by this point you still don't have like an actual TV show for ROH, and you don't have your own AEW app. You have the ROH app is not, from a technical standpoint, is not good. And you don't have Dark, you don't have Elevation, you don't have Rampage. I don't feel like it's set up in as good as it could be right now, one way or another. So I'm glad that the Ring of Honor, like the name and stuff, is still alive, and I'm certainly going to watch at least at some point the Ring of Honor pay-per-view coming up Friday night. There's also a big GCW show that night too in Dallas, but I don't know. There's like at least some people on the AEW roster that have completely disappeared from AEW TV since Rampage has been gone, like pop up once in a while on ROH. But I just feel like there's got to be a better way to go about this and get some of these people more reps that, at least they were getting matches somewhere before.
Uh-oh. Did I just lose Rob? Rob, did you have a power out? Rob was right in the middle. Yeah, I agree completely. I think that, yeah, we will see. There's been talk about adding a show to AEW too. And with the things changing for Warner Brothers, they're splitting their television off of other properties. We will see where it goes. Hopefully Rob comes back. It's like, do you have a power? I mean, unless he had a power out. If he doesn't, we're just going to go in some other news. But there's talk about Ring of Honor coming underneath the AEW, rebranding it. Rob, you're watching. I don't know what happened, Rob. You just got knocked out all of a sudden. Trying to log back in unless you lost power. I'll get some other news. Maybe Rob will make it back. Another WWE contract that's nearing expiration and it shouldn't come as a surprise, is Karrion Kross. In August of this year, his contract will run out, but his wife's going to be out a little bit earlier because he was out due to injury at some point. So they obviously are extending it. His wife, on the other hand, is not. Oh, there we are. So I'll get you back in here. I don't know what happened, man. That was just kind of weird. Very weird there, Rob. I don't know what it was, but Rob is back. Thank you. Yeah. What?
Oh, it's my morning. This is just from a technical side of things, everything is just perfect. So,
well, we're getting close to the end here, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Coming back, but you did make a good point, and I did say something after you left about how there's been talk. Tony has been questioned recently about adding a new show for AEW. And he addresses it, but he doesn't say anything specific. But it's like, I mean, obviously they have so much property that they could do another show. They could do a dark show on the website again, like they used to. They don't have Rampage, but hopefully they could get our Ring of Honor signed someplace and put them on TV. I don't know.
Well, I do think they're making a good move and finally putting some of their biggest matches on YouTube as of late. Pay-per-view matches that people either haven't seen or have no option to go back and watch because of the changes with the pay-per-view structures and all that stuff. So I don't know if they, with their contract with Warner Brothers, like I don't know if they can do a YouTube show right now. That was part of like why that had died in the first place. And you know what, like I don't know if they need another show. I think if I'm Tony Khan, the first thing I'm doing is taking Collision and making sure that Collision is like, I don't want a brand split, but I'm putting different people on Collision every week. I don't want to, I will say this over and over again. I don't want to see the same people wrestling on Dynamite and Collision in the same week ever. I don't care if it's my favorite wrestler in the world. I don't want it. You have so many talented people on that roster that are never seen that like they're doing a decent job with some people. I mean, obviously, like the card you mentioned for tonight, like you'll see FTR and Outrunners and Garcia and Cole. Like there are people that you haven't really seen on Dynamite in quite a while. But I think that that's the biggest opportunity to kind of freshen up things and use more of the roster. And then if that's still not enough, then maybe at that point you try to get like I mean, I miss Rampage, but I don't know how many others do.
Yeah, it was just you know we got to see people we haven't seen regularly. You're correct that with that, and it's I think that you know, they do kind of have certain people that only show up on certain shows. It's just, you know, I mean, I think as we get closer, obviously, to the big pay-per-views, people leak over. WWE does the same thing. They try to keep people separate, and then you got a big pay-per-view coming, and you leak them over just to get more exposure to lead up to it. So I would suspect that that with this next week coming up, that we're going to get a lot of people who are on the pay-per-view on both those shows. And then, unfortunately, for the people who aren't, you know, are going to be in the, you know, the gauntlets and stuff like that. People get more of an idea then, but it's funny we bring that up. It's Darby Allin is been rumored heavily to be coming. He may be in the, you know, one of these things going on. He definitely climbed Mount Everest and he's back, and he should be showing up sometime very soon. Which, you know, is good, you know, when people disappear and then they come back when they're done doing whatever their side project is. But Darby's, you know, he's a pillar, right? Am I right? I think, you know, I believe he's one of the pillars.
Are there pillars anymore? I don't know, who knows?
Whatever happened to Jack, you know, it's like,
What happened to all of them except for MJF? And that includes Britt Baker as like the fifth pillar that was added. So,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Same type of thing that I sure wish that like Sammy had an actual all-in match and not just an ROH match the night before. But I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of issues with that kind of stuff and how bad the AEW tag division is right now.
yeah, that's, and so hopefully, yeah, and I have a feeling that probably a good chance we're going to get tag title change on at all. And that's what I'm feeling now, but
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Well, no, because the tag titles that'll be what, Jet Speed against the Hurt Syndicate, I'm assuming.
Oh, maybe not. Okay, I'm thinking that I'm thinking of the tag match with the Bucks versus Ospreay.
Yeah, I give them credit for that one because they've actually made the stipulation something that will keep people guessing and actually is a big deal. And like when that first got announced as like the EVP thing online, it's like, what are you doing? But like the way they've got it set up now, like I think it's actually intriguing. And I mean, I do think it's also one of those unpredictable things. Like, I mean, I have my prediction for it, but it'll keep people guessing at least, as opposed to,
yeah, folks. Folks, we will go through the whole card next week before it, you know, obviously it might even be on by when we're doing this. Hopefully not, but we will go through the whole card. I did want to mention Darby Allin is hosting Discovery Shark Week, which is coming up in a couple weeks. So he's definitely going to be doing things with Discovery, which obviously Warner Brothers Discovery. It's people that, you know, run All Elite Wrestling's programming. So I think Darby will be back this week. One last thing before we get out of here. If you're in New York City and you want to watch a softball game, looks like TNA is having a softball classic charity softball game that's going to take place the week of Slammiversaries in 2 weeks too. So it's not only are we getting all in next week, but then it's Slammiversary the following week. And Slammiversary is obviously the big, but they're on the Saturday before Slammiversary, July 19th, they're having a TNA softball game. And it looks like, I mean, obviously they're having all the big players involved with TNA involved in it. And if you're in New York City, they're doing it at the Calhoun High School in Merrick, New York. So I'm just throwing that out there if you want to go out and see some of your favorite TNA guys playing a little bit softball game. I mean, I'm used to seeing TNA at baseball parks, so it seems like it only logical this time you'll actually see them play softball. So,
and some of those same people that's the same weekend. Also, GCW is running Coney Island, and there's an outdoor baseball show there as well. So there's a lot going on that weekend in that area for wrestling fans to potentially check out.
Oh, definitely. This is a 5:00 first pitch, so hopefully it doesn't cross over with GCW's outdoor one. But that's the last piece of news I had going into the weekend. Rob, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank the 51 people who were on with us at one point during the show, which is pretty cool. I mean, that you think that there's only 2 or 3 of us, but man, I appreciate all you guys listening. On that note, like I said, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back next week. Obviously, the big all-in pre-show and any other wrestling news we can squeeze in. So I want to thank you guys in the chat room. Thank you so much. Have a happy birthday, Rennie. That's tomorrow. I remember that. And we are going to get out of here. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And I have to stop this thing.